What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Wealth Not Weight podcast. I'm your host, as always, Joseph Louisa, and today we are here with another very special guest. Please introduce yourself, ma'am.
I am Sophie Craft.
Yes.
Good to be here.
Excellent. So, just tell me a little bit about yourself, some things you like. Where do you go to school?
I am a senior at Clearwater High School.
Awesome.
I have one semester left, and then I'm graduated.
Okay.
Things that I like, I was on the varsity swim team. I made it to regionals this year. Swam with the regional competition, and I work at Target.
Sweet. Good. How do you like Target?
I love Target.
Good. So, yeah, we worked together at Target.
Yeah.
I did a video on how I quit and I left, and it was,
Yeah.
that was the big thing that I said was I loved it and I'm going to miss everybody there.
Yes.
But I need to I need to do my own thing.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. No, one of the people that I very much enjoyed working with. I'm very happy that you're here. So.
I know. You need to come back. It's not the same.
I was saying, I heard everybody's just like, yeah. So
I know. Every time you come in, everyone wants you to come back.
I can't get through the door. It's great.
I know. But you're doing better things, so.
So I'm enjoying it. Just growing and building. So that's
Yeah.
cool. So we just kind of, obviously you were, as you said, you did sports.
Yes.
Very athletic person.
Yes.
Very smart person. Very great things.
Thank
I adore
you.
you. You're an amazing.
Thank you.
So, what's something that a typical day for you, especially now that you're senior, you got a lot going on. What's just a typical day for you got going on?
Typical day right now, especially after the swim season, because I don't swim anymore, but now definitely is school there, and then I work a bunch, like to just get as many hours in as I can, and then obviously homework and school, and then going to the gym as much now that swim's over. A lot of gym time. And
Say swim took up probably a lot of time.
swim was a lot. It was definitely, we had every Wednesday there was a meet, and then practice was every single day from 2 to 4. I normally stayed a little bit after, just doing some extra stuff, and then it was always school, then 2 to 4 swim, and then 4 to 10 work, and
Right.
it was busy. It was a lot, but
I was just say it's just it seems for training it's probably I never done I swim in the pool.
Yeah.
I never done what is it for training? Is it an intense thing? Is it what do you work on?
it's definitely a lot. You always have warm up, just do a typical warm up, they call it the championship warm up, is
Okay.
You do 400 swim, so a 25 is there. So there and back is a 50, so a 400 is 16 laps?
Okay.
16 laps, you do 400 swim, and then you do kick, and it's been a while since I've done this, so I think I'm saying the numbers wrong, but and then you do a kick, which is just use your legs, then you do pull, which is you just use your arms, and then that's just the warm-up. That's the warm-up, and then you do sprints. Every single day is different. Some people do distance, depends on what you swim. I kind of did in the middle. I would do 100 free and 50 free is kind of what I was doing best at, so that's a lot of short distance. I cannot do long distance.
It looks like a fucking trek.
It's
hot.
It is. You would be so surprised. Before I really started, because I was swimming when I was very, very young, and then I stopped. I did softball. And then I restarted doing swimming, and you always think, you're oh, it's so easy, just swim there and back, it's not that hard. And then I did a 50 down and back, and I'm oh my God, I can't, this is more difficult than you think, but swimming is definitely such a good way to work out, because in comparison to running, it's a lot more, it's easier on your body, definitely, because running, I know people who run a lot, if you do it a lot at one time after you haven't done it, you get shin splints, things like that, it gets bad, but swim is very low impact.
Right.
So I enjoyed it. I think it was fun.
Good. That's a lot of I remember I did a video and I had done a 5K back when I was a little bit of a fat boy.
Yeah.
And then I did a 5K last year. I think it was around this time. And I had no running training whatsoever.
Yeah.
I think I looked up one YouTube video.
Yeah.
And I was just I imagine it was the same thing what I would do now it would probably be different, but if I approached swimming or anything, I just running, you just run.
Yeah.
And then swimming, you just swim.
You just swim.
Yeah, and then I ran and I was just everything hurts.
Yes.
My feet, everything's
Yes.
horrible. I walked in and I was oh.
Yeah.
So I was just fucking, okay. So I imagine, and I know Michael Phelps was the dude for the fucking
Yes.
swimming. So do you know what he did? Did he do distance or did he do?
Oh, I know I'm a fake swimmer.
You're fine.
I have no idea.
Right.
I don't remember.
He had a crazy fucking training regimen too, whereas he talked about it. I think they took Sundays off for the Olympics, something like that. And he was saying that he would just work through it because if you stop and then start, it takes you like 2 days to get back to where you were.
Yeah.
So I was just like,
because they do it's different for everyone. Because what we would do is you would do all this hard training for a couple months. You do all this hard training, and then when we had districts, which is the first big meet, like end of the year meet, you would do for the newer kids, you would do 2 weeks. Like the first week is kind of, you just lighten up. It's called tapering.
Right.
So you just lighten up the swimming, and then by the day before districts, you're swimming like, I don't know, like 1,000 yards, which is, in comparison to everything we do, that is nothing. You're swimming like a little warm up, and then you're out, you're done. So then by the time you go to districts, you just go. So it like really works. I mean, you just kind of go super hard and then gradually get a lot slower. You're like resting, and then all of a sudden you just do the best you can do. And the times that people drop, it's insane how much that works. Like I dropped last year when I did it, I dropped like 20 seconds. I did a 200, which is 8 laps. I dropped like 20 seconds, and which was it's insane. Like
so that's like astronomical. That's
yeah,
it like
I don't know how it works, but it does.
Right.
I mean,
that's like, and I wrote about it a little bit in the book when I like first got into working out. Like I did my research and everything, and then like hit cardio.
Yeah.
It's like it's like like similar to what you were saying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh shit. It's like you like really give it all your effort.
Yes.
Right at the front. And then you kind of rest a little bit. You just, you're still doing the thing. You're still swimming. You're still doing the exercise, running, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then you just go for it again. You just do that training. I was like, no, that makes sense. That's pretty cool.
I know, yeah.
Now is like, I also know you did softball for a little while.
I did softball probably when I was very young until freshman year of high school. Okay. So like 3 years ago?
Yeah.
So I did it for the majority of my life. And it was fun. I'm happy I did it. I was on like a club team. I mean, we did a lot of stuff, and I enjoyed it, but it was just time to move on to different things. Right. And I mean, because then I changed schools, so I was kind of like, okay, let me take a break. And then I found swimming again, and I was like, okay, I think I like this a little bit better. So it was nice.
Good. Which one do you think you were better at? Do you think you're better at swimming or softball?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like if I started swimming, and I wish I did. I wish that when I was younger, I kind of kept with it, or at least started like freshman year of high school. I think I could have been very, very good at swimming, like if I did it year round. Right. I think I was probably equal at both. Okay. I mean. Okay.
But you definitely enjoyed swimming more.
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Yeah. I like swimming. Like it's just fun.
I would say they're like very like, they're different. They're similar, but also very different sports in that, you like one is, I always enjoyed, like I know Chris loves baseball.
Yeah.
That's like his thing, is baseball.
Yeah.
So it's also when he was like, he wanted to do a softball or baseball, something like that. Competition, he's just, I bet you my friends could be your friends with. Well, I'm calling Sophie. I'm getting Johnny. His giant stuff as he's going to knock it in the fire. Like, Sophie actually played softball. Yes. I was like, I'll be horrible at it. I'll just kind of like coach from the side.
It's okay, you can be.
That's it.
I would so do that.
Yeah, so I'm like, those kids would know hit him. It would be great.
Yes.
I see his friends are like, they're cool kids.
Yeah.
But they're hysterical. And they're like really, really into it, right?
Yeah.
And then like the one kid, he's like a shorter kid, but he's really good at it. And I was just like, bro, we would kill him.
Oh yeah.
We would just
100%.
Great.
I have all my equipment. I will bring my bat.
It'd be great. They have a little one. I have a park not too far from here, and that's where they go and they play and they do their little softball.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cute. I think it's cool.
And if you ever need to win against them, you know where I am.
I was gonna say I'll call up. What do you want to do now? Because I know you said you're graduating. What do you want to do now that you're... I was like, I usually have a water. I was like, I don't have any. What do you want to do now that you're like graduating high school? I know that you're like, it's obviously a very emotional and different time.
Yeah.
Do you have like an idea of like a career or like college or like what do you think?
Hopefully FSU. Right. I am waiting. February 17th, I find out if I got in. So FSU, probably, I want to go in for marketing. I think marketing's just, in terms of business degrees, I feel like you can do so much with marketing. It's very versatile. And long term, I think, as of right now, it changes every other week, but I am really into fashion and like the fashion industry. I mean, luxury brands like Gucci, Chanel, and stuff. And I think something I would want to do is the business part of fashion, which a lot of merchandising and marketing for these big fashion brands, like the luxury brands and stuff. And I think that's definitely something that that's the end goal. Right. That's somewhere where maybe like move to a different country. I mean, you know how much I love traveling and how much I do. something like that.
That's awesome.
Probably. It's like end goal. We'll see.
Okay, and that's like, have you seen House of Gucci?
I have not. I heard it was good.
It's good. It's a very dope movie. Like, I'm glad I didn't like get a group of people like, hey, let's go see it. Like I was just like, because I have the pass, so I was like, oh, I'm just gonna go see it one day. And there was like 4 other people, and then I'm like watching, I'm like, oh, this is really interesting. And then like 2 characters are doing a thing on screen. I was like, oh,
yeah.
And they're like, oh, what's going on now? And then like 5 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, there's still going on. So, but it was interesting too. It was more on their story, but they talked a little bit about like that kind of aspect of like the business and like. Because I guess the brand at one point did cheaper products, and they sold knockoffs. Yeah. So for them to get the money for them, so that was like a big thing they talked about, and like what eventually ended up to them splitting, and that's like the whole story. But I was like, oh shit! I was like, I didn't know that. So, and that's something like I didn't growing up. I had like no sense of style whatsoever. So I was like, I just know I like the color red.
Yeah.
I was like, and then like now, especially that's like one of those things. Like when I left Target, like doing like T-shirts and all this other stuff. Now I was like, oh shit! Like I learned. I have my phone recording it. I have a whole like thing, and I was like, I looked at all these companies and like what they did, and like the one dude who just passed away, Virgil Abloh. He was like this fucking great artist.
Yeah.
Who like affected like everything, not just fashion. He was just like, anytime I watched a video, he'd be like in it. Yeah. I'd be like, oh yeah, this one guy who created Bape, he was just like, oh yeah, he did this, and he entered the ministry, and then he met Virgil. I'm like, this guy's fucking everywhere. Yes. So it was really cool, and then I thought back to, I remember because we had this conversation before when I still worked at Target. I was like, oh yeah, really into fashion.
Yeah.
And I remember I was seeing it, and I was like, oh, Sophie really liked this. I was like, that's really cool. So it's just like, that's funny. I was like, it's something I never thought I'd be super into. Yeah. And then like eventually it's just like, oh, T-shirts, and like this was one I made a while ago. Yeah. And I was like, this is like 2018, and then eventually I was just like, oh, I really like this. Oh, I could do stuff. Oh, this could be a business, and people like this, and like colors, and so I was like, wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I know. I love it. Just everything about it. It's such a great way to express yourself, and I don't know. I just like there's so many aspects of it. There's so much that you can do with it to express your individuality, I think, because there's so many different ways. Like fashion's there's so much to it, and one person can take it in such a different way and it comes out so amazing, and another person can take it completely different way and it's still so amazing, and there's so much you can do with it, and I love it.
It's wild. I know they had it's something similar as with like they had for Comic-Con. They had a thing where I guess they gave a whole bunch of artists Batman suits. And they said they were like plain white, whether they were. They said decorate them however you want. Yeah. And they had like 40 or 50 of them. They were all wildly different. Yes. It's just like, oh, we did this one like a traditional one. We did this, and it's just like, and then that's something like even now like T-shirts and different stuff. It's just like that's how I look at stuff now more. Like now learning that, I was just like, oh, fashion. You just like people like, oh, I like the color blue. I'm gonna wear the blue. Yeah. So I was just like, and that's like, especially being younger, I was just oh yeah, I like Aeropostale. It says New York on it. I'll wear it. But now I'll see people, and it's like it gives me not like an indication of who they are, but like a better understanding. Like, oh hey, they have the Wu-Tang Clan T-shirt. They have this. They're dressed a certain way. It's just like they more be like something like this. So talk to that. So when I approach people, I get to talk to people more. I have a little bit better understanding. I can be like, oh yeah, I see you have I'll think of like a Bon Jovi T-shirt. Oh man, I love this song. I like that. I was listening to this the other day, and then it gets people like, oh yeah, I see him in concert. Yeah. So it's really cool how
I know. I love it.
That's awesome. There's a lot like you could do to it. Like I remember when I was just like, oh, you just put some stuff on a T-shirt, and then like that's what I like started doing before I had left Target. I was like doing that for a little bit, and more I was just like, oh, but you could do this now, and they have different aspects of it, and then especially then marketing it. Like I'll listen to all the Gary Vee podcast stuff, and I'm just like, holy shit, like there's a lot going on.
Yes, there's like so many different parts of it. It's
right. Yeah. What made you think like the business aspect of it? What's that?
I just love numbers. Everyone made fun of me because I was always the math kid, and I loved math so much, and I still do. But just more of the analytical side of it, getting to see your market and the people, and really getting to kind of, just all the business stuff. You get to analyze how sales are, what sells, what doesn't, how to market it to people to make sure that your business actually sells and stuff. And that's what in school we do I'm in an international business program kind of thing, and we currently have it's one class that I take that we made a business for it. Okay. And it's this fake business. It's called Parking Pro, and it's a fake business, but we do all of the other parts of it. Like we have the website, we have the finance team, the marketing team, which I'm the one of the heads of the marketing team. So it's just fun. We get to just make prices. We do these fake trade shows, and with kids from other schools, and we get to see what people are buying. So we have all these people that are buying our stuff. Okay, so this is how many people are buying our product. What can we do with this? How many people want to advertise with us? Like, how do we make those prices? It's just so interesting, and just like getting to make the business work, because that's such a big part of it that people don't get. I mean, yes, a business can work when you just like you make sales and stuff, but what do you do with the sales? Like, how do you make those sales? How do you make the prices to get people to buy it? It's kind of like a science, and just like, I don't know, it's just fun.
Right, that's cool. Then I imagine you like problem solving?
Yes, I love it. I know, I play crossword puzzles in my free time.
Good, that's good. You stay sharp with it. That's like the same thing. Like I remember, especially like growing up in the restaurant business, it's just like seeing different stuff. It's just like, oh hey, and like I would sell comics as a kid. I would go when I go to Dad's work. I'd always love it because I'd draw little comics and sell them. But I noticed then like it's like a way of getting like in that mindset.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, I'd be like, if I put 2 signs up,
Yeah.
I said more people know about it. And they're like, oh, Kalisa's son's doing a thing, and it's just like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I'm selling comic books. And then like you learn more, and you're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
I do this now.
I
So
know.
it's cool just seeing that, and especially in fashion. Fashion is such a very in-depth industry.
Yeah.
That's really
Just yeah.
Let's see. What made you? I guess because then it would be like, for the expression. That's like what you could pick fashion for. Like, were you into fashion as a kid, or is that something that?
I mean, I was always into it. I liked seeing it, but I never on myself was like, okay, let me try to look good. But definitely recently, because definitely TikTok. TikTok it's just everywhere. And seeing all these creators and stuff. I mean, I follow a lot of like fashion people and people who kind of do all their outfits and stuff. And just after seeing that, it makes you want to get with that more, like kind of be like, okay, so all these people are doing it, let me get the inspiration off of them. And like it makes you see that regular people are doing all this stuff, like making channels, and it makes you think like, oh, I could do that too.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, let me try to do all this stuff and like make TikTok videos maybe, and just stuff like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I just love it.
That's like definitely like, that's kind of like part of like with this, so it was like, oh hey, like I mean people write books all the time. It's just like, stop me from doing it.
No, exactly.
So I mean, it's like, it obviously has to be good. So I was like, but then put the work into it. The same thing with channels. It's like I started off I still have a really nice camera, and I started off with that and this, but then as like I watch more YouTube videos, it's like, oh, well, you can do this with your phone, you can set this up, and then audio, and I'm just like, same thing with podcasts. The first podcast I ever did ever. This was like I think the first piece of content I ever put out on the internet. It was me and a friend from middle school, and we play video games all the time. And it's like the cliche, like how to start a podcast, and we'd be like talking to each other, and he's like, "Bro, we're like so funny."
Yeah.
I mean, we should start a podcast.
Yeah.
And I watched. I don't know if you've ever seen Rooster Teeth. They're like a big gaming channel. They do like all the gaming, and they do like little animated videos and stuff. And I would watch their podcast, and they're like super interesting people. Like they went from, average people to now like they're multimillionaires. They run this big company. They're like YouTube famous, and they have like, they talk now like, I'm really into filmmaking, and I go see this director, and I do this. So the one guy is from England. He's like, he goes, and here's my life with this, and I was an apprentice. So like super interesting people, and I was like, I can do that. Yeah. So then I bought all this stuff, spent way too much money on podcast gear, and it was just like, that's what I started doing, and we got, I think, like 7 episodes in, and then we stopped. Yeah. After a while, I was like, bro, I make like $100 maybe a week working at the restaurant. I was like, I can't be spending thousands on podcast stuff. But then after a while, I was just like, oh, you don't need all that. You just need like a YouTube channel, a couple cameras, and call it. So. Yeah, it's so easy, and definitely social media. You can see how many people do it and how easy it really is, and you can be like, oh, well, I can do that. Yeah, really. So. And it's like, especially like if it's like a hobby, you're doing something, obviously, then you can just get on and do it. And then like people who like get really good at it, they're the ones who like do it consistently. Yeah. So it's just like, this, same kind of thing. It's like, and same thing in the fashion world. It's like, if I just do it enough, I have a passion and skill set for it. If I'm good at it and I hone that craft, eventually it's gonna come out right. Yeah. So that's just like, that's then the hope of the channel and then all that stuff. So it's cool to see like, oh hey, like that inspires it. And then I always, as a kid, I'd watch YouTube videos, usually gaming or something, and just like, I can do that. Yeah. Cool. So it's funny when you mentioned that. I was like, that was the same exact thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's just cool to see. It's cool to see people just
using the clothes to express themselves, and I just love that, like, everything about it, like, all the stuff that you put on, it looks so good, and some people can dress a certain way and other people dress a completely different way, but they both just look so good, and it's just so cool to see how people can turn, I mean, one dress can be worn so many different ways by different people, and it's just so cool to see how people's creative minds can take one thing and just do so much with it, and it's just so cool to see. I love it.
It's crazy, like, you just do, like, a piece of fabric. It's just,
yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like so much you can do. Yeah.
I love it, and especially then, like, how you, like, people could just, like, oh, yeah, you could wear this kind of thing, and people would just be like, but why can't you do it this way? And they break the norms, and it's just like, oh, hey, you know, people said not to do it.
Yeah.
Now you can.
That's definitely one of the big things that I love about it, is because it's such a way to break the norms, like you said, because, I mean, people always dress a lot of people don't want to be too, like, out there, you know what I mean? But it helps because when you are out there and you wear things that people don't really wear, you always think, oh, I mean, what if people are, you know, looking at me, like, what if what I'm wearing they don't like? But more times than not, I mean, for myself, when I go out of the country and I go to, like, places in Europe, I see so many people there, especially, they just dress so nice, and they just are really good at putting together their outfits, and I see them, I'm like, oh my gosh, wow, like, that looks so good. But then before I used to wear stuff, I'd be like, oh, like, what if people are looking at me? Like, what if they don't like what I'm wearing? But then I stopped and thought, and I was like, I'm looking at these people, and I'm thinking their outfits are incredible. Like, everything they put together, yes, it's out there, but it looks so good. So why am I doing the same thing and being like, what if people don't like it? Like people do, and it's so nice to be able to go out of your comfort zone and out of what people normally do, and then still have people be like, oh my gosh, that looks so good. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real.
Like,
that's especially, like, that's also why, like, you know, like, the bright color red, it's just, like, it's something, like, as a kid, it was always my favorite color, but then, like, it was, like, it stands out. Like,
yeah.
A lot of people just, you know, with blues or blacks or neutral tones, and of course there's a lot that can be done with those, but it's just, like, when you wear, like, a red t-shirt, like, anytime I go anywhere, all my friends knew that's the color I'd wear. Yeah. So, like, it's so easy to pick you out of a crowd. You're just the tall guy in the red shirt. It's like you stand out noticeably. Yeah. And that's, like, and then even as, like, I mean, of course, being the heavy kid and walking a little odd, it's like, from younger, it's just like you learn, and then, like, anybody who's, like, successful and stuff and do things, you just learn not to care what people think. Yeah, exactly. You know, you express yourself. Mm-hmm. You know? And then, like, I remember I'd go into school, I'd be dressed as Santa. With, like, around this time, I do gifts at school. Yeah. And people would just be walking, and I had my friends in front of me, and then my friend turned to the other one, and I was just like, what the fuck is everybody looking at? And then they kind of, like, looked behind us, and it was me, and I'm just happy with my little Santa hat and everything. They're like, oh, it's Joe. They're looking at Joe. And I was just like, I'm so used to it. I'm not used to people, you know. Yeah. Anytime I see someone, like, give me, like, a weird glance, I was just like, oh yeah, people do it all the time. I don't care. And I was like, it is what it is, you know. Yeah. So it's cool just to be able, like you said, just express yourself and be like, I'm gonna do what I want. Exactly. I like it. That's it. Exactly. And because more often than not, people aren't judging you negatively. They're looking at you and being like, wow, like, that actually looks really good. Yeah. And yeah, exactly. They said that, and then, like, another thing was, like, all the time it's just like people think that everybody's looking at them all the time and stuff. It's just like if you're just in a mall, I mean, half the time, unless you wear, like, something that's, you know, lighting up or so, whatever. It's just like people are just like, oh, there's a person. Exactly. They're not giving you really any thought. Exactly. Or, like you said, if it is, it's positive. Yeah. It's not going to be like, oh, and even if the thing is something negative, it's like, okay. You know, like that's you're going to see that person once and then never again in your life. Like, it's not. It doesn't matter. Especially if then you're being yourself. It's just like. Exactly. Then what does it matter? Yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, they don't like me. Oh well, move on. Exactly. That's just it is. Yeah. Because, like, you see the people that are big with fashion, they always don't dress like everyone else. It's always outfits that are so creative and different and not just like, I don't even know, just more out there. And those are the people that people look up to. Yeah. People who are expressing themselves way differently than everyone else and just doing their own thing, even if it's not normal or it looks like a little crazy. People are like, wow, but that's so cool. Like, people tend to look up to people who are expressing themselves in their own way, and you can tell. Right. Like, people want to look up to someone that isn't like everyone else. That's why they look up to them. It's because they're so different, and they're like, wow, like, this person stands out from everyone else. They're so cool. Like, that's who I want to look up to. Yeah. And that's. Yeah, that's definitely, and it's like, that's one of those things where it's just, you see people being like, I think people really recognize when someone's being genuine.
Yes.
Like, I think that's something that people can really connect with. They're like, that person is themselves right now.
Yeah.
And I think, like you said, a lot of people just look up to that. They're like, wow. Especially if somebody isn't feeling themselves that moment.
Yeah.
They're just like, wow, like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
I want to, express myself. Maybe not the same way that they are, but I want to do that and, be me.
Exactly. It just gives you the confidence. Seeing someone do it, and even if it's out of the normal and stuff, and just seeing them do it, it's like, wow, I can do that too. Like, these people are expressing themselves however they want, and they don't care what people think. It makes you think, like, okay, they can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
I think
that's awesome. That's pretty cool. They have, like, and that's, like, one of those things, like, I was saying, even, like, with, clothing and shirts and stuff, it's just wild. And even, like, YouTube channels, it's just, like, you don't have to be the same as everybody else. You just, as long as you're yourself, that's what matters.
Exactly.
So I know that you were, like, you're doing athletics, and like you said, you go to the gym. How often do you go to the gym, you'd say?
Now that school has calmed down, I can definitely go more. Like 3 times a week is the goal, so at least.
Yeah, health is a big, like, priority for you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love working out and seeing, it's so stupid, but just, like, seeing how much you can lift.
No, yeah, right.
And, like, I think it's so fun.
Yeah.
And just, it's also so good for you and, like, your well-being. So, I mean, you're doing 2 things, doing something you love and also just doing something good for yourself. And yeah, I love it.
I definitely, and then, like, as a heavy kid, I remember I wouldn't have thought, like, I would have enjoyed it working out. But, like, every morning if I work out, I'm just like, yeah, you're in a better mood.
Yes.
I'm energized.
Exactly. It makes you just feel so much better. And also, especially with weightlifting and stuff, even cardio, running, doing anything, it's always so nice to see the more you do it, how much more you can do. One day you're benching 100 pounds. I could never. But one day you're benching 100 pounds and then a couple weeks later you're doing like 150. And it's like, wow, it's cool to see how much the work that you're putting in can just, like, how much more that you can be doing.
I said that, and then, like, I remember, like, the physical change for it. Like, when that was, like, what threw me off at first, right? I had made a lot of physical change when I first started working out. But then, as I got serious about, like, my health and all that, and then I started working out, it's just like, oh, it's muscles in places right there. It's just like, if I lay down on the sofa, I'm just like, what's this thing like? I'm like, oh, it's just fun. It's like, it doesn't hurt, or, like, if I move stuff, like, anytime I would go and, like, especially at Target, then I'd be able to, like, lift things.
Yeah.
Are you sure you got that? I was like, yeah, there's, like, no problem. It's just like, before it would just be like, this is a struggle, So,
yeah.
I don't know if I ever told you the story when I went to Busch Gardens. We had, it was me and a friend of mine, and then one of his friends, was for his birthday. And I was a heavy kid at the time, like, I sweat a lot as a heavy kid. So, we're Busch Gardens, like, even in December it's hot.
Yes.
So, I'm, like, going through the whole park, and we're trying to get there before this particular ride closed. I think it was raining or something like that was coming. So we're going, and we're, like, running to get there. So my large, just heavy body is just, like, really struggling to keep up with them. And then the train starts coming. And they run over the tracks, and I'm running. And I'm, like, my eyes are, like, so filled with sweat. I'm, like, closing the neck, and I'm, like, half blind. So it's just, like, I'm running. I said, like, show the train! And I, like, start booking it. I'm, like, running. And in my head, I was thinking I was, like, Bruce Willis, like, jumping the tracks. But after I ran through it, they're just like, no, bro, you still had, like, about, like...
Oh my God!
Oh, man. I was like, really? Come on. I feel like it was just really great to just watch you, like, just run through it. They're like, okay. I was like,
oh my God.
Yep. So I was just like, okay. And then now I could walk around Busch Gardens and not be worried about hitting by a train. So I was just like, that's a plus.
Oh my gosh.
That's great. So I was just like, yeah, I like seeing that. No. It's like the same thing that, like, you were saying with problem solving too. It's just like, if you have, like, a problem physically, well, like, you learn more than about your body. I noticed. Like, as you're working out, you're just kind of like, oh, okay, like, this feels different. If I lift this thing, and you start putting, like, the data points in your head and you connect it, almost like a Sudoku.
Yeah.
And you just be like, all right, so wait, there's something missing here. I think then if I do this, oh yeah, it works now. So it's just really great to see how, like, it all connects. It's like, if I could solve one aspect, I can solve the other.
Exactly. I love Sudoku.
Yeah, Sudokus are fun. I used to do all that. I had the book. It was great. As a kid, I just sit there. That and the little brain games where it's just like find the people.
Yes. Oh, those are so fun.
So great.
I know. And, like, Sudoku, I have on my computer, and whenever I don't want to do work, I'm like, let's do a puzzle. Let's do Sudoku. Makes me feel like a grandma.
It's great. It's good though.
I love it.
I have on my phone. I have an app. I think it's an Elevate. And it doesn't. They don't have Sudokus yet, which I think they should. But they have like little things where it's just like brain like games, and it's just like, okay, do division for one. It'll be like another one is go and what's a word? It'll give you like scrambled letters, and you gotta create the word. It's like another form of the color red.
Yeah.
And you gotta be like, maroon, and you gotta like put it together.
Yeah.
And they have all stuff like that, like reading now. I think I could do like 400 words a minute or something like that.
Dang.
It's like I get like progressively faster, and it'll do one word at a time, but it does it at that speed.
Yeah.
So you'll get 20 words for that section, and it's like 360 words a minute speed. So it'd be like the dodo was the smallest bird in the breed. Like you gotta okay, and then and ask your question. It's like the dodo was the biggest or the smallest.
Yeah.
So it's really cool doing the same thing. I do it every morning.
I know, I love those kinds of things. I love. It's so fun for me. I don't know. I know people don't like that.
Oh, yeah, a lot of people Chris tried it once. He goes, because you do that game all the time. He goes, so I logged in and he goes, the first one he did the math question, and it was like I don't know what the question was, but it was like 200 divided by whatever. Yeah. He's like, and he missed by one. He's just stupid. He just the whole thing. I was like, some people just don't like that, Yeah,
that's how my brother is. He does not. No.
Doesn't like it.
Not his thing.
I was saying I'm not like a big math person, but it was just like in that way, I was like.
In the problem-solving way.
Yeah. 100%.
That's why I don't like calculus. Not my thing. But like statistics, love statistics.
Yeah.
It's so fun.
You find more that you like doing math, like in real world stuff versus than class? Yeah. Because you can apply it, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Because there's more. Because it's not just formulas. It's also like taking other parts of it, like word problems.
Right.
You get to look at the whole thing. It's like, okay, well they said this, so that means I have to do this, and I think it's fun.
Right.
Like getting to put all the pieces together.
That's pretty cool.
I know.
That's like when I think it was algebra. I was in algebra was the second year I had a job. Is when I was in algebra, and they taught I forgot what equation it was. It was like it was something for figuring out like the total amount for like a year or something, and I was like, okay. And I think that's also like something like when it comes to money, like I'm on it. Yeah. So I was like, when you put it in that terms, I'm just like, okay. Yeah. So, and I was just like, well, hey, at the time I wanted to get a car, and I was like 14-year-old me. So I'm like, when I'm 16, I was like, if I save up this much, and I was like, there's got to be a way to figure this out other than just Googling it. Yeah. I was like, well, wait, I learned this new equation in math today. I mean, in class, I was horrible at it. But then I applied it to that, and I'm just like, oh, if I save like $100 a month, I could get like a car when I'm like 18. I'm like, wow, math really easy. It makes it better when you apply it to real world. Because I mean, if you're doing stuff, I don't know. There was one thing that I hated, the logs. I don't know if you ever had to do that. Logs, yeah. What? Why? I know, but like having to do stuff like that because there's no real world application, so you can't relate it to anything. Like you just have to learn how to do it and then kind of do that, which that's where I struggled, because if you like get a formula, have to remember how to put it in. I'm like, okay, but if there's some real world thing that I can relate it to, I can be like, okay, well, think about it, and then be like, okay, well then that's how you do it. Right. So that makes it easier. Yeah, and that's like I have a friend who's going for biology. That's his name, but he's like, he's good with that kind of math. Like he's quick with it, and he'll just like show me he's doing like fucking quantum physics or something. And I'm just like. Good. All right. I was like, I'm sure if I really put my mind to it, but I was like, you just look at it, I was like, this just doesn't look fun to me. I know. But then, like, in the same token, like, we'll do stuff with, like, money. Because then he'll, like, start, now he's the age he can invest and do stuff. Yeah. And I'll just be like, oh, yeah, but, like, over long term, if you do this. And he gives me, like, the same look, and I was just like, see, when you look at me right now, that's the look you give me when you start talking about that. And he's just like, oh, okay, this makes sense then. Like, in a real world situation, like, you get it. But otherwise, I'm just like, no. Math was my worst subject. Really? Yeah. More subject. I didn't like science. Science is. Yeah. I did not take a science this year because I'm so bad at it. Okay. Like more like earth science and stuff. Chemistry was okay. Right. Earth science, I don't know. See, I was the opposite. Yeah. Chemistry. I mean, my teacher was not the best. Yeah. There was one where she was out for like 2 weeks because of a family issue, and this was right before exams. So she came back 2 days before exams. Oh. So we're like, okay, we're going to do our exam, this, that, we're expecting this. And she goes, well, you guys got to have exam prep. She goes, here, I have a packet. It's like 70 fucking pages. Oh, my God. Huge. It was an ungodly amount. And she's just like, yeah, if you have the exam the first day, you have to have it done by then. Otherwise, you have until your exam day to finish it. So some people are like, I have 2 days to do this? Are you kidding me? What? I was like, yeah, that's not happening. No. And graded.
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 Of course. Yeah. Why would it not be?
Yeah, we're worried about it. We're like, hey, how's your family doing? She's like, oh, great. Oh, hey, by the way.
A 70-page packet.
Yeah, a 70-page packet with G, thanks.
Yeah.
Next time I won't ask.
Yeah.
That's great. So now you are a very happy, you travel, adventurous person. What is the scariest thing that you've done?
Scariest thing that I've done? Oh, I don't even know. That's tough. I've done, I don't even know. I mean, all the things that have been like scary, they ended up being fun.
Right.
Like, I mean, I swam with sharks once.
Nice.
And stingray. I wasn't even scared of the sharks. I was scared of the stingrays.
Okay.
Oh, like the sharks were fine, but yeah. Just like process what you said. Wait. Yeah, and I know they cut the stingers off of them because it was, I don't even remember. I think it was at Disney when I did it.
Okay.
But even after all the places I've been, the scariest stuff that I've done, like that was scary.
Yeah.
But I know they cut the stingers off, but like the sharks would come by me. I was like, oh, okay, great. And I'd see a stinger. I'm like, oh my God, hold on.
I know. But it ended up being fun though, right? You ended up like, that's cool.
Yeah, and then you just go again, and that was definitely fun.
Good.
I don't know. In terms of scary things, I don't know if I do a lot of scary things.
Good. That's right. It's just like, what about like day-to-day scary things? Like, is there something that you're just like maybe uncomfortable with that you'll do, but then you're like, oh wait, that wasn't so bad.
I mean, little things like doing the announcements at Target.
Okay.
That always makes, I would do it every single night, but it always makes me so nervous. Like just, I don't know, little things like that. But in terms of like big scary things, I don't know. I feel like things don't really scare me that much.
Good.
I just kind of do it.
Yeah, good. That's something that like you've learned to like, okay, it doesn't matter as long as it's not gonna kill me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, I would go skydiving, definitely.
Oh yeah, I would too. I'm also like, I'm weird with heights.
Really?
Like I'm not like I don't get scared with them, but like if I like when I do Uber, if I'm on like a 10-story building and I look down, I'm like,
Really?
Yeah. But then like other times I'll just be like super high up and stuff. Like I'll take elevators up to like,
Yeah.
on, like Clearwater Beach is like 20 stories or whatever. And I'm just looking like, oh that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's kind of that I'm just like, well I know this is like a dude with a parachute strap and I'm not gonna
Exactly.
die. I was just like.
Exactly.
No, I was just jumping out and bro.
Yeah. Going up the ladder, with the whole heights thing, it's only until there's a chance I'm gonna fall. That's the only time when I'm scared of heights. Like going up the work, I had to get a lamp from the top shelf, and I don't know if you've been in the back. It's very, very tall. I was on the thing. I had to get a big lamp up from. I had to like hold it like this. It was so big. I had to get the lamp, and then I had to walk back down the ladder. I was like shaking. I was like, oh my God, I'm gonna drop this lamp. But yeah, no, I don't know. Things don't really scare me.
Good. Yeah. That's like something that I was like, I think that, and then like I remember when I quit. I don't know if I told you a story about that. We hadn't, like all of us hadn't worked together, for like a while.
Yeah.
Before, it was like my birthday, and then I was like, cool, I never see like Sophie like.
Yeah.
I was like, and then like that day, like I had planned. I was like, it's gonna be today. I'm not putting it off. It's gonna be today.
Yeah.
I made that plan and I like set to it, and then it's just what happened. Everybody was there. And I was just like, okay. And I remember on the walkie, I was just like, hey, trying to talk to you. And I was kind of like part of me was just like, not wanting to do it. Like, I was kind of like worried, like, well, what if, and then even like making a big jump for like something like this, just like, well, what if it doesn't work out?
Yeah.
It's just like, well, okay, then it doesn't, It's like, and it's like something that like, I learned just like, okay, if as long as you don't die, it's,
Yeah.
Failure's not permanent. You learn something, you move on from it.
Exactly. And there's always other options. I mean, if it fails, it's better that you know that it failed than to be saying that like, oh, like, what would have happened if I did that? And you never know. I think that's the worst thing. Other than, like, failing seems like such a bad thing, but for me, I would rather fail than to just sit there and be like, oh, well, maybe it could have been like the best thing ever and you just would never know. Yeah. So I think it's so much better to take the chance and then see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. That's like something that's like, it was like, I think it was like a perfect kind of circumstances. I remember in 8th grade, I watched the video on Steve Jobs when he gave a speech to Stanford. And he said, he's just like, if the thing you're about to do today, if you don't want to, today was your last day, I'm going to butcher the quote, I know.
Yeah.
I've said it so many times and yet I can still butcher it.
Yeah.
So I was just like, if today's your last day on Earth, would you want to do the thing you're about to do today? And if it's no, too many days in a row, it's time for a change.
Yeah.
So that, and I was just like, oh, okay, like, you gotta like take risks in order to make changes and do stuff. And then like Jeff Bezos even said, he's just like, it's like a life of service of adventure. He said, you live like ease and comfort, you know, you get a job, do whatever, do this, do that. He's like, and you know, be content. He goes, or if that's not your thing and something else will make you happy, you go do what makes you happy.
Yeah.
He's like, and then you gotta take risks, and if you fail, you learn something.
Exactly.
He's like, you know, that's it. And I think that's something that I'm glad you brought it up. You're just like, oh, if you fail, it's, you know, not a big deal. You learn. I'd rather do that than regret.
Exactly.
It's just like that's the same thing. It's just like I like my relationship with failure is nearly negative.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it didn't work out. You learn something, you try again.
Exactly. And then you can be like, okay, that failed, so what can I do now? And there's like, it opens up opportunities.
Yeah.
I feel like. And then you can see things that you never saw before. Like, okay, this didn't work out. And now it's like, okay, but now there's so many other things that I can do. Right. Like, let's see which one I want to do. Let's give it a try. Maybe that one worked out. Because then, if you didn't fail at that one thing, you would have never seen the next thing that was the biggest success ever.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's funny how like all that, it comes
it
together. It
all works out in the end. Yeah. It always 100%. Seems to work out somehow.
You always, like, looking back, you always put the pieces together, but, like, looking forward, it's just like, oh.
Exactly. Okay. I know. I would always think about that. I think someone asked me that. I was like, if you could change anything about, the question was if you could, like, for COVID, for example, like, COVID was a thing. It messed up everyone's lives. It's like, if you would go back and, like, have the power to change the, like, situations that happened because of COVID, like, would you? And I'm like, even though staying home and stuff was, I mean, it wasn't fun for anyone, but, like, COVID led me to get my job at Target. Like, having COVID happen led me to get my job at Target, like, meeting you, for example, and, like, all the different things. And so, like, just with anything in life, like, would you go back and change it? I'm thinking, I was like, no, because everything that happened, whether it was good or bad, led me to where I am, and I'm happy with where I am.
Yeah.
So, like...
Yeah, exactly. That's, like, the same thing, and I remember, and it was, I'm glad I, like, made a when this happened, but I think one of the hardest, if not the hardest thing that I had to do in my life was when we closed the restaurant. Like, that was like a second home.
Yeah.
I grew up there. That was like all my friends hang out. It was like, you know, all the high school friends. Everybody would like, okay, hey, it's Friday night. We wouldn't even like call each other. They'd just be like, I know Joe gets off work at 10 o'clock. But we had like 9 people show up at like 9:30. It's just like, cool, yeah, we're gonna wait here. And then we would just come, we'd chill, we'd hang out afterwards, and we'd go do whatever. So losing that was obviously very tough for me. But then I was like, well, I'm only making so much money here. What if then, you know, eventually I moved into the family business and I wasn't happy with it?
Yeah.
You know? It's just like, I thought about it, and I remember I told people who was like, and I was like, yeah, I'm very upset, and they're like, well, everything's going to be good. And I was like, I know firmly that could be the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah.
And then, like, I went to Target, I made, you know, 4 times the money. I got to meet you guys. You know? I got to hang out and make new friends and new experiences. And, you know, I think then that also led me to, like, okay, I see what's out in the world as far as jobs and stuff. It's just like, I know what I want. So, you know, I know now what's there. Let me go figure out how to get what I want. So it's just like, and then I meet great people, and great stories, and I'm just like, wow. Like, and then oddly enough, it was one of the best things that happened. Like, I still miss it every day, but it's just like, I wouldn't go back and change it because I wouldn't have met you.
Exactly.
I wouldn't have met everybody else. You know, it's just like, I wouldn't have that experience.
People say that, yeah, it was terrible, like, I regret this, like, I would change it. But just, it's so hard to see at the time, like, yes, it seems like the worst thing in the world, but then always looking back on it, I'm like, okay, but if that didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened, and then, like, it's so cool to look back and see, like, how upset things made you, and how you're like, oh, I wish this never happened, but then just looking back on it, you're like, but I'm so happy that happened. Like, even at the time, I was so sad, but I'm so happy that happened. So, I know, it's so cool to look at.
Right, for real. And I think that's also like, and then now the more like I'm talking about it, it's just like making those connections and just like solving those problems, even like backwards. It's just like, wow.
Yeah.
You like when you put it in that like that mindset, it's just like, oh, everything looking back, it all like makes sense then when you put it together.
Exactly.
I think a lot of people who like struggle with some of the stuff or do the stuff they look at it as like an isolated moment.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, it's a long-term game.
Exactly. I mean, even the small thing, because I went to freshman year, I did the IB program, and it was just not for me. And then at the time, I was always like, well, I should have never done this. I should have just gone to like the school that I was supposed to go. I was supposed to go to Seminole. That was my zone school. And I was like, I should have just gone to Seminole. Like, why did I do this? Now I had to go through that whole thing. I had to switch schools and stuff. But now looking back at it, I'm like, if I didn't go to IB, I would have never realized that it wasn't right for me. And going to Clearwater was probably one of the best things ever. I love it there. I love the people there. In freshman year, I wouldn't have met my best friend, Anna. I would have never met her, and we were still friends, even though we don't go to the same school, like friends to this day. It's like seeing all that stuff, like it was so terrible, and for so long I wished I never did it. But now I'm like, I'm so happy I did it because I met all these great people. I got to go to a different school that I would have never thought of going to, and I ended up loving it so much. And I got, I'm getting my ACE diploma, which is like, I don't know if you know what that is. It's like it's like an IB diploma, but like the British version. So I'm getting that. I would have never gotten that if I didn't go to IB and then leave and then go to Clearwater. It's just so cool. And it makes me so happy to just see how everything works out. Right. And I love seeing things work out because it's just so cool.
Right. It's just like, oh, I put it into work and I did stuff like this. And then once all the puzzle pieces come together and you look back, like, oh, wow.
Exactly. And it also gives you hope for the future because if something bad happens, you can always look back on it and be like, okay, well, all this bad stuff happened and I was not happy with it at the time, but look how well it worked out for me. And you can just look at the bad situation you're in and be like, well, this could be something really good. Like, you just have to remember, in the end, it's going to work out. I feel like everything works out. Somehow it all just works out for everyone. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. I think that like a positive mindset is
exactly. And it helps so much. Because if you sit there and you're like, well, oh, this is terrible, this is never going to work out for me, then it's not going to work out. But if you're like, okay, well, let me see what's happening, let me stay positive about it, things are going to work out, then they more than likely, because you're putting in that mindset, you're actively wanting things to work out, you're going to kind of help them to work out.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like one of those things, like people I know they do like vision boards and they do all that stuff. And it's just like, I think part of that is really good, because then what it does maybe subconsciously, or even still then, if not subconsciously, then actively, is like when you focus on something good, you're more like, your body's in tune with that.
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, I really want to go, to Spain. And you start thinking about it, you're just like, hey, I'm interested, let me Google about it. Oh, hey, I got a little bit extra money. Well, hey, I want to go to Spain, let me put it a little aside. And then slowly but surely, both actively and, subconsciously, you start working towards that goal.
Yeah.
And you're just like, wow, that's great.
Exactly.
Yeah. Instead of saying like, oh, I'm gonna be able to travel outside the country.
Exactly. Because then you're not because you don't put it in your mind. Like when you think positively about it, like if you want to leave the country, for example, and you're like, okay, well, that's something I really want to do. You're going to work for it. But instead, if you say, oh, I really want to do that, but it's never going to happen, then you're stuck with that mindset that it's never going to happen. So then you're stuck. You can't do anything about that because you've already told yourself it's not going to happen. So then in your mind, you're like, okay, like the idea is shut down because you're like, it's not going to happen. But if you're like, I want to and it is going to happen, you're going to be like, okay, I said it's going to happen, so I'm going to make it happen. So having a mindset is so important for anything you want to do. Like in every aspect of your life, like if you have to be like, okay, this is what I want, now I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. And that's so important for making things happen.
Yeah, for real. What's like the big thing, like what's something that you've noticed in your life that you've done that with, and you're like, I'm very happy I did that?
Just working hard towards school. I mean, it's so easy to be like, oh, this is hard, like I can just kind of be okay at it, but I mean, to getting my ACE diploma, for example, like I took, it's a lot of hard classes that you have to take and stuff, and I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try to get this ACE diploma, because I could have gone and just taken like normal like AP classes, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna do it. So then I got it all together, I figured out because I started a year late compared to everyone, so I had to do things a little bit differently, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna take all these classes, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do everything I need to do, and then that combined with just all like the studying I did and all the math stuff, like I got my SAT score up. So just by putting the work into school, so many good things came out of that. I was like, okay, I'm gonna make it happen. And then the whole, because I want to go to FSU, and you have to get a certain SAT score, and I was below that a lot. So then I was like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna do the schoolwork. I'm gonna focus on school, and I'm gonna get my score to where it needs to be. And then I did. And all the work that I did for it, I was like, I'm gonna get it up. It wasn't like, oh, maybe we'll see. I was like, I'm going to get my score up because I need to do that. And then I did, and now I'm in that range, so I hope.
Good, yeah.
I hope.
I think you definitely have a good shot.
I hope.
I think you do.
I don't want to say that I do because I'm gonna jinx myself.
Right,
but
okay.
I hope. But that's something definitely that I was like, I'm gonna try really hard in school, and then hopefully it'll get me to where I want to be. So we will see. We will see how that turns out for me.
Yeah, I think that's definitely like. I remember in like 7th grade, I got all A's, and I wasn't usually. I was a good student, but I wasn't the best student. So then that's like something like 7th grade. I was like, oh, I'm really good. I can do this stuff now. And then like 8th grade, I gave a little bit of a rest. And then 9th grade, I did well. And then senior year for me, I kind of like. I feel like everybody subconsciously knows where they want to go.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like you're on your path for it.
Yeah.
It's just like you're just like, I really want to do this and that, and then like so even if you weren't doing that subconsciously, you'd be like, I know I want to be here.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
And I think that's like, and then for like even in the high school for me, I was just kind of like, I had my heart set on being a lawyer, NYU. That was what Columbia. That's what I was going to do. And then originally I was in the criminal justice program. Originally I didn't get in. I had too many absences. I was sick a lot in like 8th grade.
Yeah.
I was out for like 2 weeks, like a really bad flu. And then I missed a lot of work then because in the week I was supposed to go back was Christmas break.
Oh yeah.
So I was out of school for like a month. So when you go back, then you have to do a month.
Yeah.
It's like
yeah.
So and then they had originally said, oh, I got too many absences. Your grades are good. Everything's cool. But then I kind of like thought about it after the fact. I was really upset for like a day.
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, well, okay, well, I can't just be upset about it. I'm now like, and I was like, well, is this even something I really want to do? I'm a lawyer. And then eventually I kind of like set myself up on a different path. And then I got in, and I was very happy. And I was like, okay, well, let's explore my options and see. And then through that, I met some amazing friends, amazing people, amazing teachers. And then that also helped me decide, no, I don't want to be a lawyer.
Exactly.
I want to do something completely different. So then, like, doing that, like you said, it's just like, it's once you then apply yourself and then, like, doing stuff here, like, it's like, I originally had, I don't think I ever told you this, but I had a video game business.
Did you?
Yeah. Back in, like, this 8th grade, I signed up. It was really through Dad.
Yeah.
But it was me doing it. So he signed up for it, and I was going to do it, and the whole thing was I was going to make video games. And I was really into it. I had all the programs. I found all these free programs. I did all this research on it, and then I just kind of didn't do anything with it.
Yeah.
I just had it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then after a while, I kind of realized, I was like, well, the reason why I'm not doing something is because I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I love playing video games and talking to my friends. It's like, but sitting here and learning the code and all that's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not for me.
Exactly.
So then I, shut that down, and I shut down last year. I still had it until then. I just didn't do anything with it for like 7 years.
Yeah.
Like, I would pay like the $100 fee every year to keep it. I was like, now if I knew what I knew then, I would have like used it for some sort of tax purpose or something.
Yeah.
But I was like, I just didn't do anything with it. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like subconsciously, I was like, but now stuff like this is just like anytime I edit a video, anytime I have people over to a podcast, I'm like, I'm in tune with it.
Yes.
Maybe like years down the line or whatever, it may change. But like, I feel like I'm, you're in the zone then, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I imagine that's probably the same way you felt like in school, like, okay, I'm getting it, it's doing
Yeah.
this, and like, oh, you get that forward momentum, you're like, it's just
Yes.
going now, that's it.
And like seeing everything kind of fall into place, like it was one of those things where I took the class because you don't get the credit unless you pass.
Right.
So I was taking the class, I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to pass this test, and then like COVID happened, things were a lot different. I was like, I don't even know if I'm going to pass. Then I started passing the classes, so I was like, okay, wait, no, I can do this. Then I started like taking the more classes, and then I was like, okay, like I'm doing good. Even though it's hard, I am putting in the work and like I'm getting the good grades out of it that I need to get. And I'm like, okay, so things are working. Like I can do this, and like, yeah, it just all worked out. So we'll see. End of this year, I'll know if I got it. I still have to wait. Like I still don't know. There's so much still that I have to like wait and see. But February 17th is FSU Day.
I'm excited.
I am too. And then in August, I know if I got my ACE diploma. So I'm excited to see. I'm very optimistic about it. So
I think that's good. I think that positive mindset, I think, is going to help you out.
Yeah, because that's what I'm saying. I mean, especially in swim, it was a lot in sports, a lot, and going to the gym and stuff too. Like for swim, like if you sit there and you're on the blocks, you're ready to start, and you're like, I don't feel good. I'm not going to swim fast. You're not going to swim fast. But if you sit through like, I'm going to swim, I'm going to put in everything I have, like I'm going to swim so fast. That's always how I got at regionals. I was like, okay, you know what? I've done all this training. Like, I got to regionals. I'm here, and I'm like, I'm gonna swim so fast. And then I went a very good time for me. And I was like, okay, you know, you say it, and you're like, I'm gonna do good. And then more often than not, it's your mindset that's blocking you from achieving your goals. Really, I mean,
it's the people like staying in their own way.
Yeah.
A lot of time.
Which is hard. I mean, I do that. I think everyone does that. But it's just, you have to say yourself, you have to believe in yourself, which sounds so cliche and stupid, but you, like, if you don't believe in yourself, then,
That's true.
I mean, that's the only person you have to be worried about, really, is yourself, because that's who you're with. I mean, people come and go, but you're with yourself forever. Like, you need to learn to like yourself and know what you can do and believe in yourself, because that's the person that's going to be with you for your entire life is yourself. So you have to just get in the mindset and be like, okay, like, I believe in myself. I can do these things. With anything. Like, I can swim fast. I can do this. I can put all my effort into, like, the podcast. Like, that's something I enjoy. Like, I believe in myself. I can do this. Like, and I mean, it's...
Yeah, it works out, and then you kill it, and you're like, I did it.
Yeah, exactly. And you're like, because I believed in myself, and, like, I can do it.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. What's something like based on that? What's like a life goal that you have? Maybe not necessarily based on money, but something that's just like, this is a big life goal that, like, I'm going to believe myself, I'm going to get it done. This is what I want.
I think just graduating college and then getting a career that I love and am happy with. That's, like, genuinely one of my biggest goals, is to be like, okay, I've done all the studying, I've done everything, and then you just have a job that you're like, okay, I'm happy with where I'm at. That's just probably one of the biggest goals that I have, is just get through everything and be like, okay, like, I'm enjoying what I do every day, because that's important too, to, like, love what you do. I know people all the time when I was growing up, I know my mom would always say it to me, like, you need to love what you do, or there's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I know, because you love your podcasts and you love doing it, and I love that you love it. Like, I don't know, it just makes me happy how much you love doing it, and I think it's such a good thing. And, like, it's nice to love what you do. And that's definitely, I mean, when I get a career job, I mean, whatever that may be, whatever happens in my life, I just want it to be something that I love. And that's the biggest goal that I have, is just to be somewhere where I'm happy with where I'm at.
I think that's like something that, like, I knew I'd make maybe like a little less money just like doing more on the side, especially at the start of this, but it was like, and like at Target, like, I loved being around everybody, but I knew, like, I was doing something, not that, I didn't want to do it long term.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of sitting there just like, all right, well, I'm doing something I want to do right now.
Exactly.
You know, and progressively, you know, as you do it more and more, it's just like, okay, you know, I'm good at this, I like everybody, but it's just, I know it's not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So it gets really tough then. It starts to weigh down a little bit.
Yeah.
So I remember there would be like nights I'd be like working out back when I worked out mainly at nights. I think it stemmed from like throughout the day it would be this. I started the restaurant. Throughout the day there would be like problems with stuff. So then my night was like blow off steam.
Yeah.
And then I'm the natural like a night owl.
Yeah.
Like I could wake up like, you know, like I went to bed at like 4 o'clock. And yeah. I was like, I'm naturally just like, oh, what's going on? Yeah. Oh, cool. It starts. And I just that's like my time for it.
Yeah.
And I remember I would just, you know, I'd blow off steam, and I kind of like, I don't know if you have the same kind of thing. I'm interested to see, because I know for like when I work out, it's almost like you're in like a different space.
Yeah.
And I'm very, even like not just physically, but like mentally. Like depending on the music, depending if I have a podcast on, I'm focused on this different space, and then like the connections will start to see different. I'll be like, you know, I'm really upset with this, you know, I don't like this. What do I need to do right now to change it? So, well, if you do this, you know, like when I was like, oh, you need to leave Target, you know, make sure you have everybody's information, make sure you still talk to everybody, and then you're not going to lose your friends, and then you're going to go do something you love. This is the best outcome for me. You start to think about it, you kind of hype yourself up more and more, and you're like, yeah, this is what I need to do right now.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to see, and then like eventually, you know, quote Steve Jobs again, he was saying, he's like, you have to, especially like people who go on to change the world, like wear different fashions or something new. Yeah. You gotta love what you do. Otherwise, a normal person is just gonna be like, I hate this. I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And it's not gonna be fun. So I think that's really great. Especially then, what's like, so I know you like fashion. What's something that like is important to you, in like a job or just in life that you're just like, I would love to do this. Like as long as this is an aspect of my life, I feel like
traveling is such a big part of me and who I am. I mean, just because I grew up, because my mom's a flight attendant, you know that. That is such a big aspect. Like, if my job doesn't involve traveling, at least for me to have time to go travel is so important to me, because I just love seeing different parts of the world and different cultures and how people are at different places in the world. And that's something so important to me. Like, that is something that no matter what I do, no matter what job it is, like somewhere in there, I need to have time to go travel, because it's always been a part of my life. I've been traveling since I was like born, really. It's like that is the thing for me. And like, you know that I disappear for like 3 months at a time, but
she's all over the world right now.
I know, I did that last summer. I know, and then I came back to work and everyone was like, you still work here? I thought you quit.
That's great.
Gone for like the whole summer.
And that's something like also I learned, and like photography, I think kind of opened that up for me a lot, was like travel. I was like, I love learning, same as you were saying, I love learning new cultures and new things and experiencing new stuff. So it's just like when I had photography too, like part of the whole reason why I went to Toronto, went to Canada, was I was like, this is a really cool photography location, let me go.
Yeah.
So like even now, like I occasionally I'll do some side jobs and make money from them, but more just a passion, and then that kind of passion leads me into something. Like I'll be like, oh hey, this is really cool. I mean, it was the Botanical Gardens or something like that, or the Sunken Gardens, something along those lines. And it's just like, this is really cool flower they got on display, and they're showing this thing off, and it's this plant. I was like, I'd love to go take a photo of that.
Yeah.
I was like, so I go, and then you see new things, and you just like, I get to experience something new, and I get to do it through, and I capture that moment through something else that I love.
Yeah.
So you just like, oh, like I was in Canada, I was like, I'm having a good time, I get to do stuff, this is amazing. So it's just crazy having like, I think the same thing with travel, I think is a big thing for me too.
It's just so nice, like I love it.
Right. Have you ever written down anything on that, and you're just like, oh, here's something that I want to do, here's something that I know needs to be a part of my life. Is that something you really?
Like planning it out?
Yeah.
Like on yeah, I do that all the time. That's just how I am. I love planning things. I like writing things down, because you can see, kind of make like a little map. That's kind of like the vision board like you were talking about. It's kind of like, okay, so what do I want to do? I used to do this all the time, especially like fitness goal wise. When before I did swim, I used to go to the gym all the time. And I was like, okay, what do I want? I want, I don't know. I want abs, for example. I wanted abs so bad. That was like my thing. I was like, okay, but then how, because you can say that and you're like, okay, this is what I want. How are you going to do that? That's the thing. So I was like, what do I want? Or I want my arms to be like more toned, for example. It's like, how do you do that? Then you have to go, okay, well, I have to, for one, like eating better and like going to the gym. Like, yeah, go to the gym. What are you going to do at the gym? You know what I mean? It's just, I think like having a plan is so good. And like writing it all out, because you can see how it's gonna work out, and like what you need to do to get from point A to point B, and like what you need to do in the middle. I think it's important to kind of do that. Right. So I do write things out a lot and like plan it out and stuff. So I that's something I do. I don't know if you do that, but
yeah, that's like something. That's why I kind of asked about it, and it's like that's a lot of like day to day. I'll do like I never did to do lists or anything like that. I like to call them that. I seen a video and they say, if you're doing something you love, don't call it a to-do list. Call it I get to-do list.
Okay.
So yeah. So
that's nice.
Yeah. So anytime somebody's just like, oh, what are you gonna do today? I was like, instead of saying, oh, I have a lot to do, it's like, oh, I have a lot I get to do today.
Yeah. Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's like, and then like that gratitude for it, and then I'll write stuff out, and that's like something I talk about a lot in the book. It's just like a plan. Like, there's a lot of things like I'll just like, this seems really cool, and I feel caution going, and I just dive into it head first.
Yep.
And then I have a lot of fun with that. But it's just like something I know. It's just like if I want this goal to happen, and I gather like beach houses. Anytime I would do stuff like that, it was just like, especially when I started, I was young. Right? I just got my license, and to go spend a weekend with my teenage friends on the beach. Yeah. You gotta have a solid plan to present people and their parents. And be like, oh, listen, I guess I want your son to come here. We're gonna do this, or we're gonna go here, we're gonna do that. So I'd like looking at prices, looking at stuff, looking at events, and you just kind of. When you travel, it's just like, oh, well, what do I want to see?
Exactly.
So it's just like when I went to Chicago, it was like the same kind of thing. I was like, I watched like, especially weekly I watched like 7 videos, like cool photography spots, food to try. I asked all my friends who were there. We had worked with somebody at Target who lived in Chicago. So I was like, oh, go here, do that. You get the little insider tips, and you build a plan. And then like I remember we went for Dad's training, and most of the day, like the second and the last day, he was in training, but on my own. So I went and I did everything.
Yeah.
I went to what was it? The park. I went to the Bean. I went to here. I went to Sears Tower. I rode all the trains. I tried all the food. I got hot dogs. It was great. Like I did everything. And
yeah.
Until like the last day, they're like, "Oh, so what'd you do the 3 days you were here?" Because I had to talk to them and everything. I was like, "I did this and did that."
Yeah.
They're like, so they live in Chicago. They're like, "You did just like everything in 3 days." I was like, "Yeah, I got busy." They're like, "Wow, okay."
Yeah. I know that's how my mom and I, because we always go together. That's like our thing. That's just what we do. We always go to the places together, and she always goes, "Okay, Sophie, make a list. That's what you're good at. Make a list. See what we're gonna do." And I'm like, "Okay." We went to Singapore, and we had one day to see everything. And I'm telling you, we did like 5 days of stuff in one day. We just went to just literally everything. I made a plan. I was like, okay, this is everything we're gonna do. We're like, here. And my dad called us, and he was like, "Oh, so what'd you guys do?" And we said this whole list, and he was like, it's like, "I went to Singapore for 2 weeks, and I didn't even do that much stuff." And that's just how we always are. We just do as much as possible to see, just like you did. And I love doing it like that, because you get to just see so much stuff.
Yeah, you have to really expand. That's like the same thing that I did a while ago. Again, if I wasn't using my phone, I would show you. I have I'm sure this is still recording. I have
it's like not recording the entire time.
Yeah, not recording. It's just like, let's see. Oh no, it's still going. It just blacks out. But yeah, the whole thing was I had, when I wanted to do a job, because they talked about it. Which was going. They have. Yeah. So we have a thing where it's like, I wanted to know what I wanted to do in my life, especially after I wasn't a lawyer and I wanted to do something for business. It's just like, okay, I can't just do business.
Yeah.
I can't like have something.
Yeah.
Like you can do a lot of things, but you gotta have something. So I was like, okay, cool. What does that want to be? And I wrote out what are the things that I have to do.
Mhm.
What are the things that I kind of want to do, and what are the things I make sure I don't have in a job. So one of the big things was travel. Like I want to be able to do this anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know, the big one, and like my life goal is just like help people.
Yeah.
It's just like I have to be doing something to help people in some way, shape, or form. Like if even if it's one person, they're just like through the thing you've done, or through you just being you. It's like if you've made my life better in some way, shape, or form, then that's it. My goal's accomplished. I'm done. You know, if the world is better for me being in it when I leave it, that's the goal.
I love that. That's like definitely something I try to do too. Just like little things. I mean, I donated blood.
Right.
I started, me and my friend Corey, we started 2 times ago. I think it was like a few months, in October we did it first. And you have to wait, I think it's 8 weeks before you do another one. So we did it in October. We waited our 8 weeks. We just did it recently. And I think that's something, just small things like that, just like knowing, I mean, in a job as well, but just in the little things that you do in life, to be like, okay, well, I helped someone. I helped someone do something. That just makes you feel so, it's so good about yourself. And it's just like in a job too, like if you were saying, just that, like the thing that you're doing for the rest of your life and the career that you're doing, and like if it's helping someone, like that just makes it so much more worthwhile. Like if it's making you happy, that's good. And if it's helping other people too, like that's just even better.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like, and then like the freedom aspect of it, it's not even like I look at money as like a tool.
Mm.
So the way it's like before, I know a lot of people are like, oh, I use this and I buy things. And I'm like, and that's when I really got into it too, is just like money in a modern world offers freedom.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I look at it like if you replace dollars with hammers, I look at it the same way. It's like my goal is to build a house, I need hammers and
Yeah.
things. So it's the same kind of thing. Like, okay, I want to travel, I want to help people, I want to do that. The best way to do that, at a global scale or larger, is like have money for stuff. Okay, you could give to charities, you could do this, you could, obviously buying a plane ticket is a lot easier than getting yourself in a little rowboat and going somewhere. It's a lot simpler. And you could do a lot more in that time. So I was like, that's where I see it as like, I don't want to go, I mean, I'm sure a nice car would be cool.
Yeah.
But it's just like if being able to be like, hey, I'm going to grab all my friends, we're going to go do this weekend, that's great. I could go and I could, travel to somewhere in Africa that got, devastated by a tsunami and help people. Yeah. That's that. I could go over and travel to China. I don't have to get on a ship and, ship for $200 and go for 4 months. I could get on a plane and go with 12 hours, So that's like the way, is that like something, I know it's not like obviously the main goal because you're very has to not necessarily like I need money kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's just like, do you think that's something that's important to you, or do you think that's like a secondary thing for you?
I mean, that's why I've been working since I was 16. 16?
Yes.
Yeah. Like, I turned 16 in September, and then I think December, and then I got my first job. And I've been working ever since that. I think I get it more for what you're saying. You know, people always say, oh, like, I'm making money so I can go buy something, so I can go just, like, buy something small. But I think I do it more for, like, in the way you're talking about. So I save money, and I am working for the money to have, so, like, oh, in the future I can go travel, or in the future I can, like, use this money to go help me do something that I want to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's more of a long term. I like having the money for a long term purposes. So, like, in the future I can be like, oh, well, I saved up all this money, so now I can go use it and, like, travel and stuff. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does.
Like,
yeah, exactly. You have it for like a big goal.
Yeah.
Something meaningful to you, not just for obviously like living in a house and stuff, but like not just like, oh, I go and I bought a new car.
Yeah.
It's like I have something that's gonna make me
Yes.
like something I love,
Yeah.
I think it's awesome. Now, like, this is the last one. We have, what is something that you admire about people? So something I know I admire about you is your personality and your optimism. You're just a very happy person.
Thanks.
Anytime you like walk in, you're like, oh hi, you're just such a very energetic person. Even like in like a bad day, just like your attitude is very like infectious, and it's just like, oh my god, now I'm having the best day ever.
Thank
Sophie
you.
came in, she's like, hey, how you doing? It's just, so I know that's something I admire in a person. One of those things being specifically you.
Yeah.
What's something that you just like overall, maybe in yourself, maybe just people, what's something that you admire about people?
You're the same way. Like, everything you said about, like, I think the same about you. It's just, it's the same thing. I admire when people are so happy and, like, optimistic on stuff and, like, bring a cheerful attitude no matter what is happening. And I just think that's something I love to see in a person. Like, that's the kind of people that I want to be around, is people who are just so, like, just have such a good attitude. I mean, that's just why I try to do it, because in other people I love that about you. You're always so, like, just, like, cheerful, just everything. And I love that about you, because it makes you happy. Like, seeing you so energetic and, like, happy and stuff, it makes me be like, oh my gosh, like, in such a better mood, you know what I mean? And I love that about people who can always just be like, just be positive in a way that is, like, infectious to other people. That is one of my favorite things when people do that, because you can be like, oh, in a bad mood, and then this person comes and you're like, oh, like, they're in such a good mood, like, now I feel a little bit better. It's like those kinds of people, like, I love being around. And those are the kinds of people you want to, like, hold on to, is people who just, even in a bad situation, they lift things up. And, like, I love that.
That's awesome. I love that. No, that's great. I love that too. Sweet. So I think this went very well.
Yeah.
I think everything was very good. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Yeah, of course.
We'd love to have you back sometime.
Definitely.
If anybody has any questions for Sophie, I know so we make sure to ask her, and if we have enough, we'll do like a little update. So yeah, make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe, and of course, thanks Sophie for being here and being a wonderful podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you. Peace.
I'm failing.